You're watching TVC News at 10. Now we're told no economy of the world, no matter how advanced, can sustain or rather survive a sustained lockdown. That is why countries around the world, Nigeria inclusive, is now strategizing on relaxing its restriction of movement and its measure of lockdown. Let's bring in Dr. Doyin Odubanjo, former Vice Chairman of Public Health Physicians of Nigeria, Lagos chapter. Thank you for joining us tonight. So according to the NCDC boss, he's saying that Nigeria must expect a spike in the number of infection, given the situation we saw today at bank premises and other places. Is this something we should take as a given? And what does it imply for the ongoing fight against COVID-19 in the country?
Well, good evening. So basically, what he has said is pretty straightforward, which is that the moment people start interacting is when the virus also interact. Like somebody said, viruses don't move people, people move the virus around, okay? So once people are allowed to start interacting more than they have done before, they're going to move the virus around, and they're going to pass the virus from one person to the other. And then with the scenes that we are seeing, where the rules or guidelines have been completely abandoned in certain locations, then definitely you are going to have quite an exchange going on between the carrier of the virus and the uninfected or the healthy people. So we will get some more cases coming out of scenarios, but it's something that if it gets out of hand, and of course beyond what the authorities can control, that you will also understand why he said that, that the idea of a lockdown won't be revisited again, to say you need to do a full lockdown again.
Absolutely. Dr. Odubanjo, wearing a mask is the thing now, and people seem to have a sense of safety. But how effective is this measure when it is not, done alongside other measures like physical distancing, personal hygiene, and hand washing?
Well, the whole idea is that there are multiple ways whereby you can exchange the virus from one person to the other. And that is why you need to have multiple means of protection as well, or prevention if you wish. So if you do only one, then you are only partly protected. If there are 3 ways to prevent it, and you do one, then you can say, well, you are one third protected, so to speak. If you do 2, you are 2/3 protected. If you do all 3, then you are perhaps almost totally protected. So people trying to say I'm wearing a mask alone means I can disregard other measures. I've completely missed the point. And as a matter of fact, I think we also need to revisit the understanding of what mask does and how the mask works. So people wearing the mask and putting it on their chin is nothing. It's doing nothing. They just wear it to say, I have a mask. Or the way they pull it down below their noses, it's not helping us. So we need to get all of these things right, and also understand that we must do the hand washing, and we must actually keep the distance. That is very important. Keep your distance from people as much as possible is very important, because even with the mask or without the mask, if the distance is much, it's much more difficult for the virus to move from one person to the other.
Keeping a distance appears to be a luxury many cannot afford these days, given what we saw earlier today. What do you think had been done differently? If there are no infrastructures on ground, there is no way people can comply, Doctor.
Well, I think what we need to get right is the different responsibilities. The idea of thinking that the responsibility is that of the government alone is fallacy. We're missing that point, okay? This is not something that the government alone can prevent from spreading. Everyone has their part. So for instance, I expected to see a lot more monitoring going on. That is the government side of the issue. Are you monitoring every one of these guidelines you put out? Are they checking those buses? Are they checking people in the supermarkets, in the banks? Are they keeping the distance? Are they wearing the mask? Those are the things that the government needs to do. I, as an individual, also need to do my part in wearing the mask and keeping my distance. I went around, I wanted to go to a bank, but I saw the crowds at the banks, and I made up my mind, no way, I'm not going to join that kind of crowd. So that is personal responsibility. I was in a supermarket, I saw their staff pulling the mask below their chin, and I told them, I'm going to walk out of here and I'm not coming here again. if you people don't use the mask properly, because then I'm unsafe. So that's personal responsibility. And then there's corporate responsibility, where the organizations need to know first and foremost that the risk is not over. That's why government is not asking its own workers to go back to work. So you to ask your workers if they can work from home, please continue to do so. And then all the other ones, you put in all the measures. So the banks, for instance, should put in the measures in their places, their premises, to ensure that these things are followed. We all must do our part for things to work properly.
Absolutely. All stakeholders must be responsible. Dr. Doyin Odubanjo, thank you for talking to us tonight, and keep safe.